What
The
a what a low bar we have for, like, this is going well, is, like, these programs are working the way they're intended.
yeah, I'm breathing. This is gonna
Oh,
be a good
man, what a
episode.
day. What a day.
Oh, man. Well, how are you? I feel like I haven't talked to you in a while.
It feels like it's been a minute. So it's the I guess this is what, the first full week of January 2023?
Right, yeah.
Because New Year's was a weekend or something. I don't know. Days are weird.
Well, no, we're halfway through at the time of this recording, we're halfway through our 2nd week
Okay.
of January.
Okay. See what I mean? Days are weird. Time is an
Yeah,
illusion.
well, this is also a really
Um,
long month.
it feels like it. Yeah.
So, like, we've got a bonus Monday that we're gonna have a bonus episode.
That's not why it feels like a long month though. We're really excited
We
to
are
have a
very
third
yes.
episode for
Oh, what a chore. Gosh,
you. Oh my gosh.
y'all are so needy. No,
But
no,
yeah,
it's exciting.
I'm good. Just
Good.
kind of attempting to plan out the year, things that I want to do, places I want to go. And there aren't very many of those cuz I am such a homebody.
Yeah,
It's tricky.
yeah. No, my wife is a little bit the same way. She likes being at home, if it was her choice, I think we would just always stay here.
Yeah.
And I like to get out. Although I do get out all week long, so I like to be home on the weekends.
Yeah.
Whereas she's home all week, so on the weekend she wants to go somewhere.
It's a weird balance to be sure.
It is. And I'm like, "Hey, I'm ready to go somewhere as long as you'll drive."
I think that's a fair compromise. It's like how willing are you to go somewhere?
Yeah, exactly. How much do you really wanna do this?
Yeah.
Because that's what this is testing. No, but, yeah, kinda the same here. Planning out the year, seeing what we're gonna do. Um, got a lot of things kinda trying to figure out where to go with it this year, and, yeah, I don't know. It's, 2023, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's here.
It it's weird thinking about that. Like I was poking fun at a friend of mine because he's playing Skyrim and I'm just joking that he's playing this old game and I was like it's 2023. Like that's not a real number. I feel like I said that last year too. It was like I don't know, time.
That's funny that he's playing Skyrim. I'm also playing Skyrim.
Really? What are you thinking about it? Have you played it before? You
I
played it before, right?
I've played it before,
Okay.
yeah. No, I've played it before. I decided to start a completely new game.
Okay.
I had never done that before, so I started from scratch, completely restarted the whole thing. And this time around, I downloaded all the mods I could to
Yes.
make it the best looking
Yes. So
game,
like
you
texture
know?
mods and stuff.
Yes, and
Okay.
so it does look very good.
But you didn't do
Um,
the dragons or Thomas the Tank Engine mod or
I
any of
did
those.
no, I didn't do anything
They're
like that.
so
I
funny.
wasn't that adventurous.
There was so Skyrim is a Bethesda RPG, and one of Bethesda's other IPs is Fallout. And one
Yes.
of the mods in I don't remember which Fallout it is, but there's like a mini like a shoulder mounted mini nuclear bomb launcher. And there's a mod that makes the sound when that goes off the and his name is John Cena. And then when it blows up, it goes da 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 da.
Oh, no.
And I'm astounded at the creativity of modding communities.
Yes. Spider-Man I've seen has some pretty good mods as well.
I believe that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I very much believe that.
but, uh
They uh
but
they
yeah.
they modded the when the New Gears of War made it to PC last year, they modded it to be instead of Kratos and his son, it was Rick and Morty.
Oh gosh. Fitting.
Yeah.
Very fitting.
So
No,
yeah, man.
as far as gaming goes, I actually so my son has a Switch that I've used occasionally, mainly to play Breath of the Wild,
Mhm.
and, with the sequel to that game, the direct sequel coming out later this year, um, I have brought his Switch into the living room so that I
Ooh.
can play Breath of the Wild on the big screen to, like, remind myself of the controls
Yeah.
before the new one comes out. Which, by the way, if you have a Switch, you probably know this, or maybe not, but you can actually rearrange the buttons now on the Switch,
I don't think I knew that actually. That's really cool.
which is fantastic because if you are like me, you get very annoyed at Nintendo for totally remapping your basic buttons.
Yep.
Everybody else in the world does it completely different from Nintendo.
Yeah.
And so I've now rearranged it and it works so much better in my brain. And I'm so excited.
Yeah. I have not really played. I haven't dived into any Switch game really in a tremendous amount of depth, so I can't talk about, oh, this game is frustrating because I'm used to doing this, but I feel like with you having played Assassin's Creed games and games of that nature so thoroughly, so extensively, games by and large do have the same control scheme. And
Hmm.
then Nintendo comes around and they're like, "Hey, but what if we didn't though?"
But what if we flip flopped everything?
Yeah.
It's like, well, Nintendo, that is just beyond unhelpful.
And they're like, "Yeah, but you're going to buy it anyway." So,
And then I do.
and they're right. That's the most upsetting part.
I know. I'm a hand over my money with my head hanging low, like, you're right.
2 tickets to the Chris Pratt Super Mario, please.
Yep. Well, welcome to the
Phew.
show. Welcome back. Welcome
Absolutely.
to They Didn't Ask Us. I am Jay, and with me, of course, as always, is John. And we are so glad to be back again for another episode. We went backwards a little bit for this episode
Yeah.
to review something that actually came out in 2021. Something that I am very upset was not released. I don't understand why part one was not released of Halloween 2020 and the
Oh,
second
that would have
part
been
was released
good.
Halloween of
That would
2021.
have been so good.
Duh.
Now, I hadn't thought about that and now I'm upset.
Yeah, it was released June and July.
I mean, I guess it makes sense they'd want to release them close together, but eh, eh.
If you haven't caught on, we are reviewing The Long Halloween parts 1 and 2, a DC animated movie. Probably the only DC properties we're going to be getting for a little while.
I think that's a very safe assumption. I am at the moment I'm scrolling back through our Spotify because when you said we're reviewing something from a little ways back, I was like, "Oh, he's going to reference how
Oh
we
yeah, we
we
also
reviewed
did
this."
review.
Jay, this is blowing my mind a little bit. We reviewed the book The Long Halloween, season 1, episode 5,
Wow.
November 2019.
And we also that was the first time that we did a Dreamcast
Golly.
where we got to cast whoever we wanted to play the roles in the story.
That's so wild.
How about that?
That's whew. Did we? I feel like we knew the movie was confirmed at that point, right? We had to
Yeah, I
know,
guess that would have been what, 2019?
and it was
20
yeah. We
yeah,
we would have 2019, and this came out in 2021, so I would assume it had at least been announced, if not in development already.
or rumored
Hmm.
maybe.
Anyway, we will return back to um the long Halloween for an extended conversation here in a little bit, but want to talk about some more recent developments. So we're recording the Wednesday, the week of the college football national championship game, and during halftime of
Boy,
this
what a barn burner that was.
glorified practice for Georgia against TCU, um, we got I guess it's the final Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania trailer.
I would assume so. I
I
mean,
can't
this thing
imagine.
comes out in February,
Yeah,
so
it's
there's
like
not much
3
else they can
weeks.
show.
Yeah. So I the the game was very boring. I had it on my second monitor and I was playing Call of Duty with my friend on my main monitor, and I had it muted because I wasn't actually watching the game because I mean, it was like 45 to thoughts and prayers. Um and I see like the second half of the trailer, just visuals with no audio, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to watch that later. And I did. And I what is it I said? I texted my friend. I said, I'm scared for Marvel's ageless former Baskin Robbins employee.
Yeah,
Um what were your takeaways from the new Ant-Man trailer?
it's um it's not looking very good for Scott.
No, no, it's not.
Scott is either going to he's either going to wind up dead or
Worse.
worse,
Yeah.
but my money's on dead
Yeah.
at this point, which is really hard to say
Yeah,
because
I'm not happy about it.
I really like Scott. I don't feel like he's gotten enough credit in the MCU.
Yeah, I do tend to agree. It is particularly upsetting because we're kind of in the between phases of the MCU where a lot of theories and leaks and guesses come out about, who's going to be the cast of what movie, what characters are going to return when.
Right.
And one of the rumors that I think we talked about a little bit off episodes was that the new Avengers cast leaked,
That's right. I tagged you on that tweet.
and I mean, Scott was one of them, and I was like, bold. I don't, because again, going into Ant-Man and the Wasp, knowing it's introducing Kang, knowing Kang is the big bad of this phase, I was like, that does seem unlikely, but I want it to be true.
Yeah.
Because, like you were saying, the Scott Lang character, Paul Rudd, like, he could be in just about anything and I'd be on board.
Yeah. Same here. Yeah, he's a good guy. I would love to meet him in person, honestly. He's one of those celebrities that I feel like
Is a
he
person.
would be a pretty genuine person,
Yeah.
you know?
That's everything I've ever heard. Like, all the
Yeah.
the anecdotes I've read is like, "Oh, I met Paul Rudd and he's actually like a really cool guy." I was like, "Okay,
Yeah, I would think so.
I'm on
Um,
board."
and but the movie itself, I mean, visually it's gonna be weird.
Yes.
I mean, the whole thing, I mean, at this point we're pretty used to it, I guess, but the whole thing's gonna have to be CGI.
Yeah.
He's just gonna be the actors are just gonna be acting in pajamas on a green screen set.
What a life. I say sitting here in
Yeah,
my t-shirt and lounge pants like, "Man, isn't that great for them? They get to go to work in their pajamas." Like,
yeah.
um but I tell you, the visually, it reminds me a lot of a Doctor Strange movie
Yeah,
because
it
the
does.
the, the quantum realm kind of has that Dormammu I've come to bargain feel to it, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
But I
Um,
I full on, like, so again, I was playing video games with my friend. I full on was like, oh my gosh, we have comic accurate Kang at the end of the trailer." And I was like, this is like, people have been wanting comic accurate costumes since the beginning of comic book movies, even before Marvel.
oh, yeah.
And he looks like that is Kang.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited about it.
Did you notice Modoc in the background?
I did because I knew to look for him.
Oh, okay.
because if you're watching this on YouTube, you could tell I might have a few Funko Pops. Um, and when the wave of Funko Pops for Quantumania was announced, Modoc was included in that. So I had already seen what Modoc's design was.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
He was leaked by the merch.
Oh,
He got Lego'd.
yeah, I was just about to say, Lego
Notorious for it.
revealed everything.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Well, I thought that was pretty interesting,
Yeah.
and, I saw it I noticed it the first time I saw the trailer. I saw him in the background, and I was like, "Whoa, I didn't know that was coming," which he's such an unusual character anyway.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't really understand him all that much, but I at the same time, we're going to the quantum realm, so
Anything's on
is
the
anything
table.
really gonna make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a completely fair way to look at it.
Yeah. Well, moving on from the trailer, we have The Last of Us is coming at the time that this episode releases, it will actually be the
Premiered.
Monday after the
Yeah.
premiere.
It looks
Um
so intense.
it does. I didn't play the games, so I honestly have no preconceived ideas
Yeah.
of this. I know it's a very beloved game. It's being re-released,
Again.
like updated or visually or
Yeah,
whatever.
they're remastering it for the
Remastering. Thank
PS5.
you. Couldn't think of the word.
Yeah. So I haven't finished the game. I started the game. It plays a lot like Zombie Uncharted, which again, as an Xbox player, you probably haven't played that as well. Um, but I couldn't get through it because I'm too jumpy. And
That's
obviously
right.
as Zombie Uncharted, it's gonna have some like very intense, very jumpy moments. And I was like, I can't do it. I'll just watch people play it and enjoy it vicariously.
Yeah.
Which I did, and it's an incredible, wonderful game. It's very good. I will say I made it through it starts in a very long extended cutscene essentially, and it just punches you in the mouth immediately. Not to the degree that Up does, but very similarly.
Oh, okay.
And I would expect, let's assume, the premiere episode, let's call it like an hour and a half because they want to try to grab you and suck you in with a high quality premiere. I would expect that's probably going to be, if it is shot for shot, I will not be disappointed.
Hmm. I
It
do
starts off
know
so well.
I do know that, Pedro Pascal, they've asked him specifically not to play the game,
I think that's completely
which
fair.
I think is interesting. I'm assuming it's because they want him to be authentic and not be trying to recreate the game, I'm
Yeah.
assuming.
In a
So,
in a vacuum, some hearing something like that would really worry me, especially in the wake of Halo, where the writers and people were like, "Oh, well, we somewhat famously don't care." And it's like, well, what if you did care because this is one of the most beloved video games potentially ever.
yeah.
Um and the reason I don't worry about that with this is because the creators are involved. Like they're part of
Oh,
the
okay.
show running team.
Oh, okay. Alright. That well, I got a lot more confidence in this now.
Yeah, because it every time I've seen a trailer for it, it's like from the people behind this and the creators of the beloved video game franchise.
Hmm.
And it's like, "Oh yeah, no, I feel a lot better about that now."
See, they almost need to do that for Star Wars. Every Star Wars project, they need to make it a rule that George Lucas is actually there giving his opinions.
I don't know. I don't know. George Lucas made the prequels. They were fun, but they weren't good.
They were better than the sequels.
That's a exceptionally low bar. I was talking about that last night. So again, I feel like I mention this every episode. Tuesday night movie night last night.
Ah,
We watched
what's that, John?
yeah, well, Jay, since you asked. Um we watched Glass Onion, which it's a Knives Out film, I think is the subtitle. Another film by Ryan Johnson, who made the most divisive nerd movie of all time, of The Last Jedi. I
Yeah.
don't think that's a stretch to say at all,
No, not at all.
because it is a movie you either love it or hate it. And I had a realization last night of like, there are four main Ryan Johnson movies that I know, and I very much enjoy three of them, and I absolutely hate the fourth one. And it's so weird to me because I can't think of another director who's like, most of their stuff's pretty good, but I hate this one. Like, that's such a weird feeling.
I'm trying to think of another one.
Looper, that sci-fi movie with Bruce Willis and Joseph
Is that
Gordon-Levitt.
Ryan Johnson?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I liked that one.
Mm-hmm. And then Knives Out and Glass Onion.
I loved Knives Out. I did not like Glass Onion.
I know we're not reviewing Glass Onion in this episode, but my thing about it is it's a very satisfying kind of detective movie, but not really. And then it has a horrible ending, and then after the horrible ending, it has an okay ending. And that's it. It ends very unsatisfactorily to me. The build-up is fun, the cast is good. Ugh.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what the next movie will be, because I mean, come on, you're not gonna stop making these movies as long as they're good and well received.
Yes.
You keep making those. So
Speaking of streaming services, the Amazon original Hunters, well, actually, I don't think it's an original. I think it's actually based off of a book. But Hunters season 2 is releasing February 21st. I had wondered if they were going to make a sequel to this. Um, so am I excited for it? Eh.
what is it?
Okay, so basically the idea is that we all know the horrible stuff that happened during World War II, where we
Hmm.
had, these concentration camps and Jews taken to these camps and very much mistreated. And so it's like 19, I can't even remember when it takes
Is
place. I
this
want to
that
say
the
like
Al Pacino show?
1980s, yes,
Okay, okay, I
1990s,
got you.
and he's a Auschwitz survivor. Um, and so he is now hunting down Nazis that are living in America.
Okay,
And it was one of those shows that was real, kind of like Glass Onion, where it was really good and the buildup was really good. And then the ending was so far fetched and so out there that it was just, it almost ruined the whole rest of the show. So I wondered, I was like, at the same time, it sets up for a season two. So you're like, are they going to have a season two? Because that was kind of weird. And it is the second and final season of the series.
okay, so they already announced.
Yeah.
Okay,
So it's either going to be, I imagine it's going to be like the first one.
okay. That is not quite a ringing endorsement, but I feel like it's one of those
No.
that could be. You don't have to watch it as it airs. You could just kind of pick that up and enjoy it for like what it is at
And
any point in time.
I say this, and honestly, this applies to everything that we review. I may not have liked it, but you might enjoy it.
Yeah.
You might think
That
it was really good. To me, the ending is what kind of threw the whole thing off, and I didn't care for it.
okay.
But like I said, you might love it.
Yeah, I
So,
think that's completely fair.
yeah, check it out
Here
if you have an interest.
here's a new show that has come out that I want to see if you've heard of, because I didn't hear of it, and then I saw someone talking about it on Twitter, and it has not my full attention because I'm very scatterbrained and really nothing has my full attention at any one moment. Um there's a show on Netflix called Kaleidoscope. Have you heard of it?
I have heard of it.
Okay. So the thing about Kaleidoscope, for those of you watching or listening who may not have heard of it, is it's a show with no set watch order. You can watch the episodes in any order and get the full cohesive plot start to finish.
So it's like Witcher season 1.
No, I said you would understand the full cohesive plot. It's a key
Okay. That's
difference
so
between Witcher
so
season
not
1.
like Witcher season 1.
I feel like it took about halfway through season 2 of The Witcher for me to be like, "Ah, yes, no, I get it now. I understand this." Because
Yeah.
they didn't have as many aggressive flashbacks in season 2, I don't feel like.
No.
So, that's a really interesting concept. I we bemoan this probably at least once a season, right? You know, why do we have so many remakes? Why is I personally blame a lot of things on nostalgia culture, which is kind of a product of my generation. And this is a new idea,
Okay.
and I'm very excited. I want it to succeed because I want originality to flourish.
Okay. Well, then I might have to check it out
So
then.
I might have to as well. I couldn't tell you the last time I watched the first season of a Netflix original show.
Speaking of something that somewhat has originality to it, Wednesday.
Yeah.
We just started watching that. We haven't we're only 2 episodes in, but man, talk about a show that captures your attention straight out of the gate.
Yeah, that's encouraging to hear. I've heard exclusively good things about Wednesday.
Me too, and
Yeah.
I doubted every single person
Yeah.
until I watched it for myself, and we started watching it, and I was like, "This is actually really good."
That's super cool to hear. I was
Yeah.
never really I'll tell you, this is going to tell you a little bit about me as a person. Um the most I ever watched of the Addams Family was when they did those Scooby-Doo movies on, like, the old ones where it's like Scooby-Doo meets Batman and Scooby-Doo meets
Oh,
the
yeah.
Harlem Globetrotters. It was like Scooby-Doo meets
Yeah.
the Addams Family. And I was like, "Oh, cool. These guys are kind of funny and weird." And that was really it. I never got into them. So,
Did you ever see the movie that came out, like, when we were kids?
I did not. I don't remember seeing it. I can say that confidently.
Oh, okay.
I might
Well,
have seen it and completely forgotten it.
the actress that originally played Wednesday in that movie is in the show as one of the teachers at this school,
That's fun.
and she actually plays a key player, key
I like
part.
that's really cool.
So that was neat. Um, but yeah, it's a good show. I highly recommend checking it out.
Cool.
It's like a weird, quirky Harry Potter is like the best way I can describe it.
So I know this is tricky to say only 2 episodes in, but what would be kind of the age range of the expected audience for it, right? Because it's not a kids show, it's just a show about a
No,
kid.
if I were and this is coming from me, and I'm probably a little more strict than most people, but
There are
I
worse
would
ways to be.
say probably 12 and older
Okay.
would be okay. There is some gore, actually quite a bit of gore.
Oh, that's somewhat unexpected.
Nothing extreme, but definitely some stuff that catches you off guard that
Okay.
you're like, "Ooh, oh, I wasn't expecting that." Um, but yeah, nothing too bad.
Okay.
But Uh, as far as shows go, we also watched, my son and I, we were attempting to watch The Bad Batch.
It's
Um, 2 episodes in, I can say I like it better than the first season.
it's a low bar. I feel like that's been the refrain of this episode so far
You
is
know,
like
the thing I will say, and actually it was the 2nd episode, and it dawned on me what was happening, and it bothered me, but the Bad Batch is being so careful not to kill any of the clones that they're fighting.
mhm,
So the clones are firing their lasers, you know,
right.
their guns, and the Bad Batch they're shooting stun, orbs or whatever. And So they were trying to stun them instead of kill them, except if they're in a machine and they're flying, then they just blow up the whole thing and the person is dead.
Or in the second episode where Wrecker has the tank gun and a
Yeah,
hunter is still running around stunning all these people,
yeah,
and Wrecker's just like, "Nah, forget that. I'm blowing everybody to Kingdom Come."
yeah, exactly. Precisely. So
Yeah, there
that's
are some inconsistencies in that sense.
there is. And then also I wanted to give my final review on the Santa Clauses. That was something that I didn't get to, honestly, we didn't finish until after Christmas.
A,
Um
a peek into the review right there.
yeah, it happened.
It was
It's
a
there.
show.
It
I
was
guess
a
it is.
show.
It is a show.
They totally set up for a second season. Will there be a second season? I highly, highly doubt it.
That's kind of upsetting because I feel like we have enough shows. Like I feel like I feel like I don't. Well, so I don't post on Facebook a lot, but I scroll with some frequency, and probably once a week I see one of those silly BuzzFeed posts of like, here are 17 shows that were canceled too soon, and because I'm a sucker, I read all of them. Um, and I feel like a lot like the most common refrain in something like that is, oh, it sets up like there should have been more. It ends on a cliffhanger, and then it just stopped and didn't get renewed. And then you have shows kind of like you're alluding to with the Santa Clauses. It's like it's set up for another season and it might get it, which is upsetting enough, but like you could just stop.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's even the setup for the second season is so subtle that if you're not paying attention to it, you really wouldn't notice it.
Okay,
Um
that makes me feel better. I thought it was like an overt like they
not
introduced a new character in the last scene of the first season. I was like, "Oh,
no,
come
what
on."
happens is like so the sun so I'm not even gonna go into it. It's not even worth going into it.
Fair enough.
It's there. Watch it if you want to, but don't. So so
Oh, man.
The Long Halloween parts 1 and 2, the movie or the excuse me, the graphic novel that John and I reviewed passionately, um, 4 years ago, and
It's so weird to think about that.
we even created a Dreamcast, which is we haven't done that in a while, but it's where we read a graphic novel and we say, "Okay, we are in charge of making the movie, and we get to hire whoever we want to play the different characters, the different roles.
Mhm.
Who do we choose?" Um, I can confidently say they did not choose any of the people that we wanted.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair.
Also, it was animated, so it's voice acting anyway, so
Yeah.
doesn't really
Even
count.
I would say even in terms of voice actors, it's like, oh, we can get into this in a second.
Yeah,
But we have a I love wherever you grab this plot summary because the Long Halloween plot is intense and intricate and ambitious. It's a
it's a
big
year
book.
long.
It's a big book. Like as far as graphic novels go, it is hefty.
It is. I've got it on my bookshelf for our video watchers. I'm tempted to go get it just to show you.
Um and I mean obviously again we've referenced this episode very subtly multiple times. And if you're watching on YouTube, I have the link to the episode down below. And I'm sure we talk about the plot in great detail there, but we have a very good summary of parts 1 and 2 each separately here. So if it's all right with you, Jay, I'm gonna dive into these summaries.
Yeah, please do.
All right, so the Long Halloween Part 1 released on June 27th, 2021. Inspired by the iconic mid 1990s story from Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale, Batman The Long Halloween Part 1 begins as a brutal murder on Halloween prompts Gotham's young vigilante, the Batman, to form a pact with two of the city's only uncorrupt lawmen, Police Captain James Gordon and District Attorney Harvey Dent in order to take down the Roman, head of the notorious and powerful Falcone crime family. But when more deaths occur on Thanksgiving and Christmas, it becomes clear that, instead of ordinary gang violence, they're also dealing with a serial killer, the identity of whom, with each conflicting clue, grows harder to discern. Few cases have ever tested the wits of the world's greatest detective like the mystery behind the holiday killer. Part 1.
Whoa.
And then for part 2, released July 27th, 2021, so a month later, The Long Halloween, Part 2. The reign of terror wrought by the holiday killer continues in Gotham City. With each calculated crime, the stakes raise as tensions boil over between the Falcone and Maroney crime families. As Batman, James Gordon, and Harvey Dent race to solve the deadly puzzle, a breach at Arkham Asylum brings villainous players into the game. Based on the critically acclaimed graphic novel, Batman The Long Halloween concludes this gripping chapter in the Dark Knight's saga.
Who done it?
Who done it? Go back and listen to our other episode to find out. No. Um,
Oh man, that's a good way to
I
get
tell you,
listens.
I tell you one thing that I love about. So we reviewed this in 2019. I don't think I've read it since then. This is not one of
No, I
those. This is
haven't.
not one of those graphic novels that is on my like. Oh, I have 45 minutes. Let me just grab this, flip it open, and read a little bit of it. Um, I forgot who did it. So I'm sitting there watching this movie, like I feel like I know how this ends, but I'm not 100%. And getting to kind of re-experience it for the first time with a heavy like air quotes there. This is such a great plot. It's so good.
It is, and the obviously there's going to be some differences between the graphic novel and the movies, the animated movies. And the ending is different. It's actually very different. In fact, in the graphic novel, Batman just assumes that Harvey is the one that did it, and Harvey never says that it wasn't him. And so his wife actually never gets caught.
Mhm.
So she gets away with it. Because Harvey just he goes ahead and he takes the blame, actually figuring out that, oh wow, it was my wife. So that's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Um, what else?
I
I know
I
there's several differences.
I really appreciate that though. How it's not a true adaptation so much as it is heavily inspired by.
Yeah. Now the first part one is almost identical. Like everything that happens is
Yeah.
very, very similar.
I think part 1 of the 2, I think part 1 is not significantly better, but better than part 2.
I agree.
Part
Um,
2 is just it feels busy.
yeah.
Like their budget was contingent on how many Batman characters they could put in a movie. And they got through the first part of the movie and they were like, "Oh man, we've made this really good movie. Oh no, we have all these characters left to use. How are we going to slam them in there together?"
Well, to be fair, they also show up in the graphic novel as well.
Are they lim-
Everybody kind of makes an appearance.
are they limited to more of like the second half, or is it
I
more
think it's
like
more
sprinkled
spread out
throughout? Okay.
throughout it. So yeah, I guess you are right. It was more condensed
Okay.
into the second part. But yes, in the graphic novel, it's kind of throughout.
Yeah.
Because and one of the reasons is you got to remember that that was an entire year
Mhm.
of Batman.
Yeah.
So it's very different in that sense. It didn't happen just one after another. There was time in between. Um, but I love that they fit in the scene with Joker in the airplane.
Mhm.
That was that was one of my favorite scenes in the book, so I was happy to see that in the movie.
What was his line from the movie? He said something about, like, "Why did the corn only get gold medals? Is because it's not gonna be number 2." I was like, "That's such a great, horrible joke." I need like, it was one of, like, I'm gonna have to tell, like, the people who I tell my terrible jokes to. It's like, "This is amazing." It's such a fun moment. And Joker, I was very excited, was voiced by Troy Baker,
Yes.
who, since the retirement of Mark Hamill as the Joker, Troy Baker has essentially become the voice of the Joker.
Yes. He
And
really has.
it was very exciting to at least have that continuity, because the rest of the cast by and large I don't feel like has been in any other DC animated movie in these roles.
Yes.
And
In
I
these roles.
say in these roles because the voice actor cast as Batman and Bruce Wayne took the longest time for me to wrap my head around, because it's Jensen Ackles. And if you have listened to me talk about Batman really in any length, you know how much I love Under the Red Hood. One of my all-time favorite Batman arcs, probably my second favorite behind Hush. And when they adapted it into the movie, Jensen Ackles was Jason Todd.
Mhm.
So that is the voice that I associate with him very directly, actually, because I haven't watched Supernatural or The Boys. So that, like, to me, I hear Jensen Ackles, I think Jason Todd,
Yeah.
and hearing him as Bruce Wayne was a bit of a like, oh, I don't know how I feel about this.
It was weird, it was different, but I liked it.
Yeah, I mean
Like,
he's great. He
it
could
it
be
it just
if they
it
cast him
made
as Bruce
sense to
Wayne,
me.
I would not be upset.
Yeah, it made sense to me that, "Oh, he basically played a Robin, and now he's playing Batman."
Yeah,
It just made sense.
yeah.
A
Um,
natural step.
it was nice that they that Josh Duhamel still gets work in 2021 when these were made. I remember. Do you remember that show Las Vegas about the
Uh-huh.
casino? That's really
Yeah.
the only thing I remember Josh Duhamel from.
Yeah.
He's enjoyable. He just isn't in anything, I feel like.
No, but he did a good job, I felt.
Yeah, I enjoyed so a lot of this movie, kind of a TLDR, if you will. Um, the movie is about finding the holiday killer who kills is a serial killer who kills on holidays, and a lot of it is about it's essentially an origin story for Two Face.
Yeah.
If you were to boil it down to what this movie is, it is a Two Face origin story, and a lot of the heavy lifting is on the Batman actor, right? It's a Batman story. But the Two-Face Harvey Dent character is crucial to this plot working. And like you were saying, he does really well.
Yeah, I liked the voice he used for Two-Face.
A clear differentiation.
Yeah.
Because I know growing up, a lot of people our age would have grown up with like animated Two Face. But I grew up with Tommy Lee Jones Two Face, and let me tell you, real bad. Like
That's a special Two-Face right
exceptionally
there.
poor. He's fun. Don't get me wrong. Batman Forever is a fun movie. It is a bad movie. So it took a long. It took honestly. It took until The Dark Knight for me to shake Tommy Lee Jones as Two Face, and getting to this point now where it's like, you know, just experiencing so much of this movie with Harvey Dent as Harvey Dent. It was very it was great.
Mhm. I liked the amount that they had Catwoman involved, and you got to see a little bit of their
Dynamic,
love
yeah.
interest there between the two of them.
She's such an interesting character
She is.
because it's like, well, she's gonna help Batman, but she's gonna get her own stuff too, and they kind
Yeah.
of dance around that in this movie where she is. I mean, this movie does the second part of this movie does not happen without Selena in the first movie.
Hmm.
She's a essential part of isn't keeping Bruce alive in multiple times during this, and I feel like she has a lot more depth than Catwoman would have had in things previously.
Oh, yeah, because he doesn't have a Robin in this,
No,
so he definitely, like, yeah, like you said. I mean, he wouldn't have been able to do what he did if it wasn't for Selena.
because
So
there's a
she was a key player.
yeah, especially like near the end of the movie, there's a big team up battle with like every Batman villain you could ever think of versus Batman and Catwoman, and it was chaos in a bad way. Like it can be chaos in a good way if it's done really well, but like why did Tetch have to be in this at all? Like the Mad Hatter does not add anything to this movie. He's
No,
just there and annoying.
he's just there rhyming everything.
So tedious. I'm trying to think of things that rhyme with tedious, and I know there are things. I just don't want to do it.
Well, also, I didn't like the voice actor for him either. It didn't fit his character at all.
I would
It
agree with
made it
that.
sound like he was from the Peaky Blinders, and it's like, no, that's not how the Mad Hatter sounds.
Yeah.
He's almost jolly in a weird psychotic way.
So, do you want to know the one of the most famous voices that the voice actor for the Mad Hatter did? He was Marcus Phoenix in Gears of War.
Oh,
Very different character.
how about that?
That's wow.
You know who else I found out the other day was in Gears of War, and I never realized it? Michael B. Jordan. Yeah, that was my reaction too.
Was he just in everything
He's
growing
been
up
in
and
a
we never
lot.
realized it until he became like transcendently famous?
Yes.
All right.
I looked it up because I was watching Disney Plus. I was bored and I turned on National Geographic
You
and
were bored.
watched,
Wow.
yeah, and watched they have an America the Beautiful series, and it's just all the different land that just all the different kinds of, like, we've got like the northern plains and the out west and all that kind of stuff. And so you were seeing the different animals, and Michael B. Jordan narrated it. And he actually, it, for whatever reason, it fit. And I was like, I'm gonna look up to see what else he's done. And then I saw Gears of War, and I was like, huh,
That's yeah. I would not have ever thought that. That's really cool.
yeah, he's done a lot of voiceover work. So that's very interesting. But one thing I wanted to mention about this movie that I very much appreciated and enjoyed was the artwork. The animation for this movie was great.
I
I
so
really liked it.
it took me until into the second part to acclimate to it because if you watch as much Batman the animated series or other like DCAU movies, they have a somewhat consistent style. Like you can look at it and kind of know what era of DC animated the movie is from. And I guess the thing that I didn't fully appreciate about this movie, so we talked about this movie came out in 2021, and we've talked a little bit before that there you might have heard of it. There was this health crisis in 2020 and 2021 when this movie was
Sounds
being
familiar.
produced and developed, and I don't know how that would have impacted something like this, but I have to imagine like animators and illustrators were working from home or if nothing else in environments that they weren't considered normal.
Yeah.
And inside of that context, the movie becomes much more impressive to me because it's like a full 2.5, almost 3 hours of continuous, like, it just, I don't, it's, it took me a second, but it works. It's good.
I enjoyed it. I liked it. It was different. I also appreciated that it took Batman back to that, like, where it looks like the 1940s,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I think Batman really truly the superhero genre in general, I feel like works best in that time period.
I don't know that I will say that, but I will completely agree that it works best vaguely in the past.
Yes.
So if it's not super era dependent, I think
Yes.
that's completely, like, again, I referenced Batman the animated series just a minute ago, and I feel like that's very much how that is. It's just vaguely the past.
Yeah.
Because if you try to make something hyper modern, and I heard someone talking about this last week about that movie Free Guy. When you
Mm.
try to make something start to finish full of pop culture references, it's not going to age well.
No.
And I
No.
feel like even when it's not something like that, but it's set to be modern for the time, it might not age well. So if you take that out of it, it should age very well. And I feel like, at least for me, because I love the animated series so much, it holds up because it's not dependent on, like, oh, you had to watch it then for it to be good. And I feel like this holds up in that same sense.
Yeah. No, I agree. No, I totally agree. And but yeah, and also one more little thing that, like, this was actually a negative about the movie that bothered me. Losing my voice. Um Harvey only having 2 bullets. Such a random thing.
It
Like, I
f-
didn't get that.
it feels random because it's definitely used as a, like, oh man, I dropped my gun, but I knew I shot all my bullets. I feel like that's a two-faced thing, though. I feel like that's a one bullet for each side of the coin.
Well, I guess.
That's the silly excuse I'm
If
trying
that
to.
I I guess if that was the case, then wouldn't he
It's
just carry 1?
Yeah. Yes, that makes much more sense. That was the because I had that same, like, sorry, I only had two bullets. Like, why? Why did you not just have one bullet if you knew you were gonna just do what you wanted to do anyway?
Right.
I No, I'm completely with you there, and it does kind of take away from the moment at the end of the movie. Also, I meant to talk about this at the beginning. Um, this movie is rated R. For those of you listening who might, like, oh, I've read this book, I want to sit down and maybe watch it with my kids. Um,
I guess
I'm
it did have some language.
I'm not gonna sit here and tell you what you should or shouldn't do. I'm just going to tell you that this movie, according to the IMDb page, is rated R for violence and bloody images. Somehow not including language, but there are at least one F word and a
Yeah.
couple of S words, I think.
Yep.
So it's definitely not, the what is it? The Batman the Brave and the Bold, that, like, kids WB Batman from when we were, like, not really kids anymore.
Uh-huh.
It's not that, but it's not, like, super dark and broody like the Batman was last year.
Right.
So, I mean, it's good. It's just that it
Which
changes that expectation.
man. You should go back and listen to that review as well for the Batman, which was just last season.
Mhm.
But gosh, we thought so like we were so certain that it was going to be the long Halloween
Mhm.
because that's how the movie starts. It was like October 31st, Halloween. And then like nothing else happened with that.
It was such a bait and switch almost.
It
'Cause
was.
people like us are sitting in the theaters and they're just like, "Are they gonna do the thing? Are
They're
they
gonna
gonna do?"
do it.
And then no.
And then the movie ends and he's like, Thursday, November 24th. It's Thanksgiving. It's like, really? Like, that's it?
Oh, man.
Just a few weeks have passed?
Yeah, as opposed to this, which is genuinely a year.
Yeah.
Phew. So, yeah, I think
Yeah.
rate it. Do we have a full can we do a full, like, DCAU scale? Is there a bad one? Like, what would be the bad end of the scale?
Hmm.
I feel like that's kind of troubling. Like, they're all decent to
They're
good.
all decent.
Yeah. Like, I hate 1 to 10ing things just because it's so bleh.
I know I liked the Justice League. That was like the first one they did.
Mhm.
Um, or I guess they did Flashpoint. Man, that was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Every single one of them has been like I don't
Banger
think
after banger.
yeah, I don't think there's been one that's been like bad.
Yeah. There have been some that I just didn't like. What was
I didn't really like Hush.
I don't I have mixed opinions about Hush just because I like the book so much, the movie would was always going to be bad.
Well, I liked the book.
Yeah,
The book
that's
was
that's
very
tricky
good.
to me. Wasn't Justice League
So, I
dark? It
guess we ought
might
to
have.
just 1 to 10.
Yeah. Man, I'm so disappointed in me. I can normally come up with these better. 1 to 10, this gets a solid 9.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it at an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
Uh, actually, I think what brings it down is kind of um, that last fight with Batman and
It's
and
not great
Catwoman, and in the high-rise apartment with, uh,
with
Carmine Falcone
Falcone and yeah,
and his daughter.
it's not my favorite thing.
No, it kinda brought it down a little bit, but
Yeah.
other than that, the rest of the movie is fantastic, very good.
Yeah, part
Um,
1 especially, I'm gonna bang that drum as much as I can. Like part 1, The Long Halloween, is a very, very good movie.
yeah, yeah, so I give it an 8, John gives it a 9, but check it out for yourself, let us know what you think. If you want to argue with us and tell us that we're wrong, you can do that.
Mhm.
You can email us, email the show, they didn't ask us at gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter and message us on there. The show is TDAU underscore pod. John is, of course, J Mueller 8332. You can also follow him on Twitch. And then on Twitter, I am the nerd is underscore in. So please message us and let us know what you think. And let us know what it is that we're doing wrong or what we should change or
Or
praise us too. I'd like
if
that.
you have any suggestions as
Yes,
we're taking an audience suggestion for our bonus episode for the month
that's
of
right.
January.
Yes.
It's I feel like it's so we're going to be reviewing the Watchmen movie,
Yes.
and I'm confident in saying it has been a decade since I've seen this movie. And I think the last time I watched it, it was on TV. So I don't know that that even really counts.
I haven't watched it since it was in theaters. So it's been a very long time.
It's 2006, wasn't it?
Was it?
It was a while.
Hmm. I remember one of my very, very dear
Ah,
friends,
2009.
and I know he listens to the show, so he can get mad at me, but he brought me to that movie and insisted that I go with him. I had no idea what was going on. I was very confused. I think watching it now, I think I might enjoy it a little bit more.
Okay.
And I'm gonna try really hard to get a copy of the graphic novel because I would like to read it as well to see the
Yeah.
differences.
I think that's fair. I feel
So
like Watchmen is one of those like readily available graphic novels. Like
probably,
most bookstores would stock it, and if they don't, like you could probably find it on Amazon or something pretty cheap.
yeah. So I'm gonna try really hard to get that. I know our listener who emailed us. I know he was specifically you know he wanted us to compare it.
Okay.
Um, I don't know if we're going to be able to do that, but we will, at the very least, we are going to review the movie. And yeah, that was from Alan, was the one who suggested that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very
So
much. We're very grateful.
we appreciate it. So we will be doing that next time for a bonus episode. And let's see. Anything else? Am I forgetting anything? I feel like I'm forgetting something.
I think that
That
about
ended
does
so
it for
smoothly.
me. Yeah.
It wasn't Rocky. That was weird.
It's almost like we're in the middle of our what season are we on?
Have
Four,
we finally
five?
figured this out, John?
I haven't. I no. I four.
Confident
I
in
went
saying
back to
that.
Spotify.
Oh,
I still had it pulled up.
oh,
We've been doing this for 4 seasons.
4 seasons. Oh, we're a hotel.
Hey,
Hey.
look at
All
us.
right. Well, so we will see you in 2 weeks, but until then, nerd out.